Hello everybody, just getting ready for the fourth session YouTube live event for the Green Tie cohort at Ilkley Grammar School. For those that haven't joined us before, I'm Andy Calvert. I'm assistant head teacher and responsible for transition. A cooler evening this evening. I have to put the lights on behind me to make sure I'm well lit. Hope you can see me okay. Tonight's session is due to start in a minute or so. We'll be on learning at IGS. Okay, just a few welcomes again. Of members of the leadership team, particularly Mrs. Capstick, who's our head of learning, assistant head teacher, is here as well this evening. She's available to answer any questions, and also Mr. Lim and Mrs. Varley are in the background too. And I do know that we've got a number of our new tutors here as well, particularly those new staff who are joining us in September. So welcome to all of those. As always, I'll just work my way around my little carousel of things that I need to say. I will pause from time to time to give you a chance to ask any questions you have, and we'll do our best to answer them. We'll make a start. Clearly, the main importance of a school is learning, and Ilkley Grammar School has a long tradition of doing that very, very well. We're at the cutting edge of learning with all sorts of things, but really within the classroom, that high quality learning experience that your children will get doesn't happen by chance. It happens by really carefully constructed and coordinated curriculum, and what we call quality first teaching. So getting those really high quality staff in the classroom in front of your children, and ensuring that the curriculum is delivered to the very best of our ability. What we are doing clearly is we do start from a number of students coming to us with all sorts of different skills. As I said last time, trying to bring those teams together and getting to know them well in the classroom is just as important as it is getting to know them pastorally and from a welfare point of view as well. We do have, and one of the real strengths of the school is a really experienced and knowledgeable teaching team. You know, that all the departments are run by a head of department or a curriculum leader if they're a bigger area, and then behind that is a member of the leadership team to support the learning as well. So it is very much a big organisation, and we try and build on the excellent learning that the children have had from primary school and try and move that forward. The learning itself within the classroom is well scaffolded, and that high challenge is there for everybody. It kind of matches our personal best vision and value statement to ensure that all children at all levels can make exceptional progress while they're with us. Not everybody can achieve a grade 9 at the end of year 11, but what we want to do is make sure that that progress and that flight path from where the children start with us to where they finish with us, either in year 11 or year 13, is as high as possible, and that's the whole mandate of the learning side of the school. That personalisation, the differentiation as it used to be called in the classroom, is there for all, and what we do try and do within every single lesson really is make sure that all children feel stretched, and that they all feel challenged by the material that's in front of them. We certainly just don't aim down the middle and hope that some children make better progress and some find it a little bit of a challenge. We actually try and personalise it really carefully to make sure that all children have those opportunities within the classroom. Just a few things about the timetable before I move on to some other things. At Ilkley Grammar School, we use a 2-week timetable. That's quite unusual for a primary school to have a 2-week timetable, but we call them week A and week B, and that itself, both weeks, is called a cycle. And what happens is the students have effectively 2 timetables, one that operates 1 week, one that operates the next week. It just allows a bit more flexibility in the timetable. The timetable in a big organisation like a high school is actually quite an enormous job, really, to get everybody in the right place at the right time with the right teachers. So in order to give us some flexibility and also to give us some ability to do as much English, maths, science and all the other subjects together, a 2-week timetable works best. Most high schools do have a 2-week timetable now. The students will get used to it quite quickly, and they'll get used to whether it's A week or B week. It is on their iPad, on their Outlook calendar. It does say whether it's week A or week B on there to help them, but effectively it goes week A or week B. If we get to a holiday and we finish on a week B, we start on a week A after the holiday, and vice versa. Lessons themselves, there are 6 lessons each day. It's sort of 2 lessons to start with, then a break, then another 2 lessons, then lunchtime. Lunchtime is 50 minutes, and then another 2 lessons after lunch. So what that does allow us to do is we can either have single lessons, or we can, where we need to, have double lessons as well. And within those double lessons, each lesson itself is 50 minutes, 50 to 55 minutes. And if we put 2 of them together, it just gives us that little bit more time to do, particularly in practical activities such as food technology, PE and so on, where double lessons are clearly better, and particularly those for PE where there are off-site lessons. And I'm sure you're aware that the schools PE fields are actually down on the A65 down in Benridden, so we do have to bus the children down there and then get them changed. And obviously if you were trying to squeeze that into a 50-minute lesson, it just wouldn't work. So they do tend to have double lessons when they're off site. They have single PE lessons as well, but they do have doubles. As I said last time, in year 7 the children are only set in maths. Everything else is taught within the tutor group, so it's even more important, going back to my first point, that the teachers are highly skilled at getting that high challenge in every lesson, really, particularly when it's a mixed ability lesson. Going forward, and we've made a decision this year that year 8 will, because of the pandemic situation we're in, they will remain in tutor groups apart from in maths in year 8 next year. That said, we will we'll keep that under review. For that's not a decision that's been made, but we're really looking at that. Okay, and then just a few other things just before I move on, regards to inclusive learning, really, and that's the what would be known as the SEND department. We do have a new Senko joiner, Mr. Keane, who was online with a few days ago, speaking to him to hand over the SEND department to himself. He's really looking forward to joining us. And I think what we will do is we will write to all the parents of the students that we feel should be, from what we've read from and received from the primary schools, who should be on the SEN register. So please just contact us if we have got that wrong, or you feel we've missed you off the list. But what I would always say with regards to that is the tier of challenge can get a bit bigger when you're at high school, and some students, even though they've been comfortable at primary school, may start to struggle for whatever reason. And I would encourage you to contact the inclusive learning department. I think I've said this before, their email is inclusivelearning@ilkleygs.co.uk, where you can email things, questions and queries through to them. If there is something that we need to know, or you've noticed that your child is struggling with, because linking into class charts, which we talked last time about, is within class charts is what we call an additional needs button. And when the staff click that button, it actually gives them what we call a student passport, which is basically an amount of information that students who have additional needs have. And those additional needs can be learning based, they can be welfare based, they can be SEMH based, they can be physically based as well. And it's important that the teachers use those bits of information to scaffold the learning for the people that are in front of them. And one thing that we do make sure happens is that the teachers have time when those new passports come out to read and digest them and ensure that the learning in the classroom is heavily tailored for those children that have SEND needs. Okay, I'll just pause there for a few minutes if that's okay. Are there any questions about the main things I've just said there about learning itself, the timetable, or inclusive learning? Just pop them through onto the chat if you want us to try and answer them. Just give you a few moments to do that. Okay, nothing come through straight away. So again, I've probably done a good job. I'll keep moving onwards. One of the ways that you will find out about how well your child is doing is obviously, first of all, looking in their books, but you do get tracking and parents' evenings with us throughout the year. So tracking comes out every term. There are 3 lots, but one of them is actually a formal report to parents as well. They basically give you an idea of what grade their student is working at, what if there's any homework concerns, and what their effort is like as well. Additionally to that, you get a tutor parents evening in October, and then a formal parents evening in late May, June, depending on how it falls in the calendar. I get a number of parents asking me in Year 7 about why it comes so late for an academic kind of parents evening, really. Well, what we hope is that the tracking gives you the information that you need, and the parents evening is almost the icing on the cake that you get back that they've had a successful year. I suppose from our point of view, it also gives us time to get to know the students themselves, and that does take a little bit of time, because within a timetable, with regards to English and maths, clearly they get an awful lot of English and maths lessons, but obviously other subjects where we don't see as much, actually it does take a bit of time for us to really get to know how good they are at those subjects. So it's why it's kind of left towards the end of the year. Okay, just to move on, something that we talked about last time about homework or independent learning. Every department has its own departmental policy, and independent learning should be set within that policy. It does depend, obviously, how much they get, depends on how many lessons they've had of that subject in each cycle. Clearly, as I've just said, English and maths, they have more of English and maths lessons than anything else. But the homework is set there, and it can be set in lots of different ways. It can be set on the iPad, and the iPad gives us a really important ability to be able to differentiate and scaffold learning, particularly when it's being done at home. So a lot of staff do use an app that's called Showbie, which we're using very successfully now in lockdown, and those lessons allow. That app, which is a workflow app, allows us to scaffold the learning. They do get traditional homework as well to complete in books, and then there's the flipped learning idea, actually, where a member of staff may give them homework to do that actually prepares them for the next lesson, so we can use the time in the lesson to consolidate ideas rather than learning new ones, which again is a really valuable opportunity that the iPad gives us. The other thing that we want to try and do, and I've been asked to mention this again, with the is reading for pleasure. And we do ensure, if we can, that the students bring a reading book with them at school. I mean, there's a very obvious link between a student's reading and how well they do at school. And we try and make sure that they have opportunities to read for pleasure. We have a stop everything and read sessions throughout the weeks from time to time. And we also use some PB time and also in tutor time, if there's nothing else going on, to read for pleasure. So please encourage the students to bring a book with them. It's a really important part of school. And the Boy 87 books, I believe, are coming out to everybody this week if they've not got through to the primary schools, our partnership primary schools, which I think they have, and they'll be coming out to all the people that are not in our partnership primary schools very shortly. And Mrs. Romanowski, one of our English teachers, is going to put a video online to explain how the book works and the reasonings behind it. And it'll be fantastic if all 315 of you have managed to read the book, and that will be great springboard for when you start your English lessons after the holiday. Just moving onwards again, and about marking and feedback. We do things in our own way at Ilkley Grammar School, but basically marking and feedback is absolutely expected within the school. It's routine and it's regular. It's in line with departmental policy. And you will see that the marking can be the traditional marking in books, but it's also, we do work on the iPad as well, and we can send voice notes on the iPad. We can also spend a lot of time doing an awful lot of verbal feedback in the classroom as well. There are times as well when there is a very deep and forensic marking of a key piece of work, and again you will see that, but there's also tests that need to be marked as well. It's something that the students get used to doing. We don't mark every single piece of work, but what we do is ensure that it's routine and regular, so the student knows exactly where they are, and you should see that within books and on the iPad as well. All I would say is just make sure that you do check all those places and actually look at it in the round when you're looking at marking and feedback, because it can be in lots of different places. And one of the things that we want to really encourage the students to do more than just looking at the marking is actually reflecting on it and improving their work. And we use a green pen for that. So that green pen is an improvement pen, and we work very closely with the young people when they come to us to know that it's not just for ticking their own work like student marking really. It's actually to look and reflect on what the teacher has said to them, and we call it dirt time, which is direct improvement and reflection time. So actually within a lesson there's a time for students to read their own work, reflect on what's been said and improve it all the time, driving that challenge forward for them and to improve their work onwards. And that links nicely into our effort grades. And our effort grades you will see on the report. There are 4 levels of effort within Ilkley Grammar School. I want to just try and explain how it works, but they are excellent effort, good effort, inconsistent effort, and poor effort. And what we try and do is really make sure that the students are absolutely aware of what it takes to get those excellent efforts. For example, if a child is just doing what's expected of them and no more, then they would likely get an inconsistent effort, because we want students to really look at their work that they're doing and trying to move it forward. Good effort is those students that are challenging themselves to improve, doing their dirt time, responding to the marking, making sure that their work that they're handing in is good or better. And again, that excellent effort is actually the students that have gone almost that extra mile really to get things absolutely right, looking for opportunities to do additional work and expand their own learning. So when you do get the first set of tracking, I would really encourage you to read carefully with the young person about what those effort descriptors are, because sometimes it can come across where you think, actually, I think they were doing all right. Where you see what we try and do is just doing all right is just doing all right. We want them to do better than that and try and push them forward to even greater things, because over time we know that kind of push behind from us to do better and better and better at their own level really does improve their educational outcomes as they go forward. So that's the kind of most of the things I wanted to say today. But I did want to just give time just to reflect on. I've been listening closely to the radio today, and the Secretary of State was on the radio this morning, and he's pretty much said that he wants all schools to open in September fully. Now, again, we've not had any absolute detail of that yet, but as I said last time, we're certainly expecting to open at least on the 7th of September for our New Year Sevens, and that's the day we will meet you, where we will hand out the iPads on those days, and we'll get the students ready for learning. Hopefully by then the schools are able to open safely, and we can carry on keeping them in for those rest of the weeks. But what I shall do is be working with the leadership team this week to look at any guidance that we've been given about opening the school fully. But I certainly heard myself today that that's what Gavin Williamson and the government wants us to do, is to open fully for all year groups. That seems an awful long way off from what we have at the minute, but we are really looking forward to having everybody back in school, and like you, that's really what we want as well. So I genuinely do hope these sessions have been useful to you, and what I shall do is I'll just stay online here now for as long as it takes, really. If there are any questions that come up that you want answering, I'll just try my best to answer them. As I said, it can be on any of the sessions that we've done. What I shall do as well is I'll commit to, if I try and do another of these, probably back end of next week, maybe I'll send you the details if I've got anything new to add. But I want to reassure you that once we know what is going on, you'll be the first people to know, as all parents will be, about the plans for September. There is the school isn't open over the summer. We've had that confirmed, so even for the key worker children, the school isn't open over the summer. But we will be trying to put in place everything we can to close gaps that have probably appeared in all year groups, really, and that will be the skill of our teaching staff to identify those gaps and fill them over the time that we've got your young people with us. I suppose from year sevens, or next year's year seven point of view, we've got the longest possible time to close a gap that might have appeared while the students have been not at primary school for those several weeks that they weren't in. I know a number of them have gone back. Mr. Lehman and Mrs. Varley have gone into a number of primary schools. We are getting there with tutor groups now, so we hope to get back in to those primary schools and deliver the tutor groups message to all of the children that are there and get the letters out. We have a nice sequence of short videos from all the 11 tutors who have done a small kind of minute 30 seconds kind of welcome to the students. A lot of those people are a lot of those colleagues are new colleagues to school as well, so they're just as excited to join us in September as well. So I shall turn it over to all of you. If there's anything that you want me to answer, I will do that. I'll stay on for as long as it takes until the questions dry up, and then we'll end this conversation. I'll set another one up. But I really do thank you for joining us, and I genuinely do. I've never done anything like this in my life, and I do hope they've been useful. I wonder if we're having maybe problems with the chat. I've just been a member of staff has just said that we may be having problems with the chat, so I'll have a quick look. Yeah, it's been very, very quiet. Maybe I'm just having problems with the chat here. Oh, I'm sorry, something has popped up there. So I have to keep trying the staff to see if they can put something on. Will school uniforms be worn? I would imagine they will be. If I had to guess at this stage, I think it's quite important that the students start from a team building perspective, really. Whether we go for the full uniform, obviously, I fully appreciate it's a bit hard to wash a blazer. We will decide on. But I would certainly like that the students start to get used to being in Ilkley Grammar School. So if I had to guess at this stage, I would say yes. But that will be one of the decisions that we make as a leadership team over the next few days or so about whether that is, and you'll certainly know before we start with a full school uniform on. I think having led a lot of these sessions, I actually feel that it's a really important day for the young people to put their uniform on. Under normal circumstances, we would have had them all in on a day just next week. It would be actually in their own school uniforms, and there's a myriad of colours. But actually, in September, they all come together with the black and green, black blazers and green ties on. So yeah. Mrs. Amy, yes, you will. We'll make sure that everybody gets a letter who doesn't get a direct conversation from our staff. We need to ensure that everyone gets a letter. So, Mrs. Amy, yeah, we'll make sure we get that home to you. Kind of in school provision will be the same. I was talking to the catering manager today, and we're looking at, we do use parent pay at school, so we're just trying to work out how that will look. But ultimately, yes, we do need to feed the children, so the provision will be there. I can't say at this stage what the queuing arrangements will be, and whether some students just for capacity reasons, where we need to do things slightly differently. But you have to remember, we need to get 1,800 people fed in 50 minutes, which is quite a organisational issue. But we will make sure that is conveyed to you as well. But I suppose, again, if I had to guess, we have to feed the children, so we will work around ways to do it and make sure that's done in a safer way as we can. Okay, Miss Nice, that's fine. Anything else? Please just hand them through, my opportunity to answer them. I mean, if there are other things you'd like me to talk about, I can do that as well, rather than it being a question or anything you need to be reiterated. It does look like our teaching staff are struggling to put things onto the chat, it seems. So they are there, they're just not coming through. They're texting me furiously here, telling me that they can't be seen. So okay, it seems to be starting to dry up this. I'm not sure whether that's because of a chat issue or a YouTube issue, or it's something elsewhere. So this is Well Smith. How does paying for school meals work? Is it prepayment arrangement? Kind of. A lot of primary schools have parent pay now. What we would do under normal circumstances, and we'd do this on the first day, is we set up an account for all our young people, and it's biometric. So we take a thumbprint from them, and what that does is it's a cashless school then, so you have an account and you can load money onto that account, and the child effectively uses their thumbprint as a authorization for that money to be used as such. And so what you can do is the parent is in control, and you can set limits on, and even set limitations on what they can actually buy. You can set limits on the amount that they use. And what we tend to do is we let you know if it's starting to run a little low as well. You can just, obviously it's just an online platform really. You just top it up from time to time, and just keep it topped up and monitor it from then you can actually see what they've had each day. It does tell you what they've had. So if they've had pizza every day and they tell you they've not, you'll have the evidence there to show that what they've bought each time, and you can monitor not only their intake, what they're buying, but also how much they're spending as well. We do have kind of a standard meal for the day, and just to give you an idea of what the food is like. There are a number of different sort of stations within the B hall where year 7 are fed if they have school dinners with us. There's a kind of traditional kind of sandwich bar that has sandwiches and tray bakes. Then there's what the children call pasta pots, which are pots of either pasta or rice with some sort of sauce as a vegetarian version, and a meat version. It changes most day. Then there is the sort of traditional kind of plated meal each day, and again that's on a rotation basis. And then lastly there is a pizza and panini, and a bit more sort of quick food section as well. So there's kind of 4 stations that the students can get into. The queuing system's pretty well organised. It does take us a bit of time to get 2 year groups in, but it's been significantly improved over the years because 2 other year groups are down in the other canteen now, so it's a lot easier. Lots of questions just come through all of a sudden, so I wonder if the chat's just suddenly started to sort itself out here. So I will do my best to answer them as they come up. But just to carry on about the meal, I mean the catering manager is there, and if anyone does have any specific dietary requirements, then please do let us know. We're a nut-free school, but we do cater for everything as long as we know and the catering manager knows, then we can cope with anything really. So just let us know. If you want to do that by transition@ilklagrammarschool.co.uk, then we can make sure that the catering manager has those things. But you do get that opportunity to cross-check that with us. You'll get a data sheet quite soon when you arrive with us to add on any dietary requirements. And again, I do find that young people, by the time they're in year 7, are pretty good at being able to manage their allergies or dietary requirements themselves. So, unless there was a nut-free school, the major one is under control anyway. But please just do get in touch with us. Just so we've got here, tutor groups. Mrs. Slade, it should be with you. It certainly, we'll be looking at the back end of next week. We're hoping to get it out. We'll certainly be done before we finish in the summer. That's the plan. Well, not the plan, that will happen. So that's what we're there. Email yesterday, re-uniform. Could someone able to check if it's been received, please, and get back to me by tomorrow, Mrs. Bridgen? We will do that for you and make sure that that's done. If not opting into the iPad scheme and using our own pilots, are they able to bring social apps and games onto the iPad? Do these need to read any other general rules on the iPads? Mrs. Lyons, no, you don't have to remove your apps off your iPad. Clearly that wouldn't be right. But what we do is we have what's called an MDM, a mobile device manager app that needs to be loaded onto the iPad. And then when they come into school, there are certain restrictions that our firewall imposes onto the iPad just while they're at school, just so they're not playing social apps or games while they're at school. So that's part of the kind of deal in order to do that. It just allows them to access our Wi-Fi as well, and the securely network that we have around them. So that's what happens if you bring in your own iPad. General rules re iPads. I mean, I suppose general rules are they're they don't use them in the free time, and we encourage them to put them away. They're used as learning devices. And the only time we do allow them to, if it's wet break, because at lunchtime, because there's not an awful lot to do in school when it's pouring down with rain. So that is the only time they can use them in social time. And we really encourage the students to start to use them as a learning device. And I think that's our job, to ensure that we do that with them, really. All I would say about the iPad is they are expensive, and if you can get a decent, if you've got your own pad, make sure it comes with a decent case. The iPads that you get from school do have a case with them. I would encourage you as well with a backpack, if you can get a backpack, get one with a slot in where, or a padded case that you can actually slide it into when it's inside their rucksacks, because much as they do get bashed around, dropped around, left in the rain, you'll be amazed what happens to them. So protecting that iPad as best you possibly can while it's not in use is a good idea. Mrs. Woodward, will the pupils be set immediately for maths? Yes, Mrs. Woodward, they will be, and that. But obviously, I think I said that a couple of sessions ago. They will be set on that, but obviously from the teacher assessment grades that have come through from primary school. What we would normally have is their SAT grade as well, which helps us to do that. But this year we won't have that. So as I think I said in the second session, we've already spoken to the head of maths, and I think he's absolutely aware that there might need to be some movement around the maths sets when the students start. But they will be set immediately in maths. Yes, they will be. And we've got to rely on the teacher assessed grades in order to do that from the primary schools. Any other questions, everybody? Seems to be incredibly slow, the chat coming through today. The first session it piled through it. Okay, I mean, I'm getting towards the 40 minutes here now, which I'm sure you've heard enough from me. But listen, I suppose the last thing from me is, and I do intend to come back on here, but I obviously won't get a chance to speak to you all. I hope you've found what we've tried to do to close this gap. I'm certainly really pleased with what Mr. Leeman and Mrs. Varley have done with the primary schools, and I'm very grateful for the primary schools letting us into the primary schools to see as many of the students as we can. It's not been the easiest transition because of the situation we're in, but I'm really looking forward to meeting the young people. I think part of me thinks that the children that will be joining us in September will have an element of resilience, I hope, but they might need a bit more support as well, and we'll do what we can to support them and yourselves as families, as I said, to make sure we close gaps, get the children inducted into Oakley Grammar School and get them moving through their career with us. And I hope in time we can put all of this behind us and maybe look back on 2020. And unfortunately, they'll probably always be known as the year group that joined Oakley Grammar School in the middle of a pandemic. But we'll be able to put that behind us and together and move things forward for them all. I'm really confident of that. So thank you for your time. And if you do want to head off, that's absolutely fine. There's a couple more questions come through here. When will the English video come out? With regards to Boy 87, it will come out. I believe Mrs. Romanovsky's doing it very shortly, and we'll put it off and send a link out to you all so you know where it is. It's just going on YouTube, I believe so. So it'll be out shortly. I've not spoken to Mrs. Romanovsky today. Mrs. Varley tells me that the book should be out shortly and the work should be done as well. Okay. Okay, I'm pleased you've all found them useful. I really am. Okay, it looks like that's the 40 minutes up, everybody, and yeah, I can see through from some of the chats that they've been useful. So, as I said, we don't begrudge 1 second of doing this, really, if they've been useful. So, I'm really pleased they have. Okay, and as I said, once I know anything, I'll make sure I come on to answer any questions, and all the questions about uniform and start dates and everything else. We will absolutely clarify those with you as soon as we possibly can. Okay. Thank you, everybody, and have a good evening. Okay, bye.